cover those emotions were to be a little more aggressive.
And insensitive.
Yeah, and to be angry about the situation opposed to dealing with how I was actually feeling at that point.
You know what? This is a labor of love for Jay, and as a result, he's my friend. We're here to talk about that and nothing else.
I do know for sure, when something this major happens, when you have the fallout, 50 women coming forward, that it's a watershed.
50 Cent just openly called out the predators he claims were shielded by the industry for decades, and now he's openly directing attention toward Oprah for a long time. He's challenged why certain elite power players avoided real consequences, while Epstein survivors insist they were muted now. He's connecting that shielded system to some of entertainment's most influential figures. This happens right after 50 hinted at dropping a Jay-Z documentary once Jay's name allegedly appeared in the newly released Epstein documents. He confirmed nothing directly, but he made it obvious he's tracking who gets exposed and who stays untouched. Here's where it tightens. Oprah's name previously surfaced in earlier Epstein-related paperwork that alone proves nothing. Yet it sparks uncomfortable questions about closeness, and let's be honest, Oprah and 50 have never exactly been allies, so when he mentions protection at the highest level, people are asking who he truly means and what he thinks Oprah may have hidden. Let's break it down naturally. The first name everyone mentions here is Jay-Z. The mogul and 50 have never really aligned. That friction has existed for years. In the recent Epstein file release, Jay-Z's name allegedly shows up in an FBI crisis intake report from 2019. Basically, that's a hotline submission. An anonymous source alleged that back in 1996, they woke up in a room with Jay-Z and Harvey Weinstein at what they believed was Epstein's mansion. Now, for some observers, Jay-Z appearing anywhere near Epstein's stories doesn't feel surprising. They point toward his inner circle. For instance, Diddy, as you know. 50 relentlessly mocked Diddy after his arrest. He didn't stop at jokes. He even went as far as producing a documentary about it. That alone shows how seriously 50 views these industry scandals. But since Diddy's arrest, Jay-Z hasn't really spoken publicly about it, and given how close they were for years, that silence feels telling to some watchers now. Add another layer, there have long been rumors that Jay-Z started dating Beyoncé while she was under 18. There's also chatter about his past ties to Foxy Brown when she was 16. These are allegations and long-running rumors, consistently denied or brushed aside. Yet they never completely fade. Then there's the story surrounding Kathy White, who some online claim was pregnant with Jay-Z's child before her sudden death, and most recently, last year, both Jay-Z and Diddy were accused in a lawsuit of assaulting a 13-year-old girl. Both denied any wrongdoing, but when allegations stack repeatedly, public perception begins shifting regardless of convictions. Now, where does Oprah fit into all this? Oprah Winfrey and Jay-Z formed a very public bond following his 2009 appearance on the Oprah Winfrey Show.
Known for not being a big fan of rap music because of misogynist lyrics and because of the use of the N-word. You obviously feel differently, and a little bit.
She publicly applauded him, labeled him magnetic, and even said he reshaped how she viewed hip-hop culture. So when 50 speaks about protection at the highest level, people immediately study those connections. And then there's Harvey Weinstein. Jay-Z and his company Roc Nation were tied to business deals with the Weinstein Company. At that moment, it was framed as bold storytelling, influential projects, meaningful themes. But once Weinstein's abuse allegations detonated in 2017, people began re-examining every link differently. And here's something many people overlooked. In October 2017, when Weinstein released a public response addressing the claims he cited, what he insisted was a Jay-Z lyric from 444. He wrote, "I'm not the man I believed I was, and I must become that man for my children." Problem. That precise line never appears in the song or the album. Several outlets flagged that immediately. So now you've got Weinstein invoking Jay-Z amid the center of a scandal, misquoting him, and pulling his name into a public apology that was already unraveling fast and publicly everywhere.
This is a labor of love for Jay, and as a result, he's my friend. We're here to talk about that and nothing else.
Then can I ask you about mass incarceration?
And when the accusations against Weinstein finally surfaced, Oprah, who had also maintained a very visible closeness with him, described it as a watershed moment. Now pause on that. A man confronting dozens of grave allegations, and the language chosen to frame it was watershed moment.
This major happens when you have the fallout, 50 women coming forward, that it's a watershed.
People didn't brush that off. It felt almost like crisis control, and because Oprah had years of photographed moments and warm interactions with Weinstein, her reaction was placed under a microscope again. Being near someone doesn't mean guilt, but in any discussion about protection at the highest levels, proximity keeps resurfacing, and that opens the door to another name, that always appears whenever Epstein is discussed. Bill Clinton now. This part isn't online gossip, there is documented evidence here. Clinton did fly on Epstein's plane that's part of the record between 2002 and 2003. He took multiple international trips aboard that aircraft. When researchers break those journeys into individual flight segments, his name appears 26 times. Many of those entries reflect portions of the same trips, but once that figure circulated, it stuck. Those travels included destinations like Bangkok, Brunei, Rwanda, Russia, China, and Ghislaine Maxwell's name appears on some of those same logs as well. Listed as GM, there are also older photographs showing Epstein and Maxwell at a White House related reception in the early 90s where Clinton was in attendance and Epstein made donations connected to Clinton fundraising efforts years ago now. Clinton's camp doesn't dispute the flights, they've acknowledged them. They say he traveled for foundation-related work and had no knowledge of Epstein's crimes. They also insist he never visited Epstein's island, and here's where it circles back. Oprah has conducted sit-down interviews with Bill Clinton before. Full-length discussions, he's appeared on her platform, they've shared stages, participated in public events, smiling, agreeing, presenting a united front again. None of that proves anything, but once your mind goes there, the next name that inevitably enters the conversation is Bill Gates, because unlike online speculation, this connection is rooted in documented interactions that have been reported for years.
Weird details coming out about Bill Gates' rocky relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. One day, Epstein is offering to get Bill Gates a Nobel Peace Prize through his connections, and then the next day he's blackmailing Gates about—
Now, just to loop it back to Oprah for a moment. Oprah has also interviewed Bill Gates in the past, placing him squarely inside that polished, intellectual philanthropy space she's famous for amplifying. So once again, it's the same pattern. Critics keep highlighting: powerful figures, shared spaces, familiar circles, the same respectability engine, and with Gates, the Epstein link. Isn't rumor Gates has acknowledged meeting Epstein several times between 2011 and 2014, including visits to Epstein's Manhattan townhouse. Gates's explanation has consistently been that those meetings centered on philanthropy, global health initiatives, fundraising concepts, dinners, that sort of agenda, and he stated he never traveled to Epstein's island. The Gates Foundation has also responded following document releases, firmly denying any financial transactions or payments involving Epstein.
The island, I never met any women, and so, the more that comes out, the more clear it'll be that although the time was a mistake, it had nothing to do with that kind of behavior.
But even with every explanation offered, people still refuse to drop it, and a major reason is because Melinda French Gates has openly said he must confront the unresolved questions about why he was interacting with Epstein at all. She's also stated that his connection to Epstein was one of the factors that pushed their marriage toward divorce in 2021, and that she had worries about it much earlier, years then dating back to around 2011.
Questions remain there. What I can't even begin to know all of it. Those questions are for those people, and for even my ex-husband. They need to answer those things.
And finally, there's no avoiding Richard Branson. Branson has surfaced in Epstein-linked reporting and documents multiple times over the years. Newly released records include emails from around 2013 suggesting that Branson and Epstein had contact. Branson's representatives claim those encounters were limited to group or professional environments, and that he ended all communication once he grasped the severity of Epstein's crimes. That's their stance. But once again, it circles back to proximity, and this is where Oprah re-enters the frame. Oprah interviewed Richard Branson. She publicly celebrated him, showcased him, shared stages with him, just as she did with Jay-Z, just as she did with Bill Clinton, just as she did with Bill Gates. So when 50 talks about powerful people protecting powerful people, audiences don't hear isolated names. They see a network: billionaires, media titans, political heavyweights, industry kingmakers. Now, according to 50, Oprah was aware of much of this and chose silence. That's his narrative. He's implying the quiet at the top wasn't accidental, it was deliberate, that certain individuals were safeguarded while victims were overlooked. So now the real issue isn't only Epstein, it's whether 50 is on the verge of revealing something far larger. And if Oprah's name truly belongs in that story the way 50 claims, then this discussion is nowhere near finished, because once those doors start cracking open, they never shut softly.